Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, watching the massive alien space station grow larger on the main screen. His hands were steady on the rail, but his heart was beating fast. This was it. First contact with an alien. Civilization. Everything humanity had dreamed about for centuries was about to happen. "Captain, we're getting a signal from the station," said Communications Officer Dan Brooks. His voice was tight with excitement and fear. "They're speaking English, sir. Perfect English." Jake nodded. "Put it through." A voice filled the bridge, cold and mechanical. "Human vessel, you are cleared to dock at Bay 7. Follow the guidance beacons. Do not deviate from the assigned path." "Well, they're friendly," muttered Colonel Rick Taylor from his position near the tactical station. The military advisor's jaw was tight as he watched the alien structure fill their view screen. Nothing says welcome like being ordered around. Before we even say hello, Ambassador Lisa Carter stepped forward, smoothing her diplomatic uniform. She had trained for this moment her entire career, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of it. The space station was enormous, easily the size of a small city. Strange ships from different worlds docked at various bays, their designs unlike anything human engineers had ever imagined. "Remember, we're here to establish peaceful relations," Lisa said, though her voice carried a note of caution. "But stay alert. We don't know what we're walking into." Dr. Amy Wells looked up from her scanner, her face pale. "Captain, the energy. Readings from that station are off the charts. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Maybe thousands of years ahead." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Earth had sent them with humanity's most advanced ship, armed with the best weapons and shields human science could create. But looking at the alien station, he realized they might as well have brought a wooden boat to fight a battleship. The docking process was smooth and automatic. Mechanical arms reached out from the station and guided the Defender into the bay like it was a toy. Through the viewports, the crew could see other alien vessels. Some were sleek and silver, others looked like living creatures made of metal. And light. All of them were bigger than the human ship. "Atmospheric scan shows the station has breathable air," reported Lieutenant Commander Kate Phillips from the science station. "Gravity is close to Earth normal. Temperature is comfortable. They've prepared for us." "How thoughtful," Rick said with a bitter laugh. "They know exactly what we need to survive." Makes you wonder how long they've been watching us. Lisa gathered her team in the airlock. Besides herself, the delegation included Rick as military, advisor, and Amy as their science expert. Jake would stay with the ship, ready to leave quickly if things went wrong. "If something happens to us," Lisa said quietly, "get word back to Earth. Tell them what we found here." Jake nodded grimly. "Good luck, Ambassador." The airlock opened onto a corridor that seemed to stretch forever. The walls were made of some material that shifted colors as they walked, cycling through blues and purples and greens. The air smelled strange, like flowers mixed with metal. Their footsteps echoed in the vast space. They weren't alone. Other beings moved through the corridors, and none of them looked human. Lisa saw creatures that walked on 4 legs, with heads like insects, tall, thin beings that seemed to be made of crystal, and others that defied description. All of them stopped to stare at the humans as they passed. "We're the new kids on the V." "Block," Amy whispered. "Look at how they're watching us." A guide met them at the entrance to the council chambers. It was humanoid, but clearly not human, with gray skin and large black eyes that seemed to look right through them. It wore robes that sparkled with their own light. "I am Attendant Crix," it said in that same mechanical voice they had heard on the ship. "I will escort you to the council chamber. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not touch anything. Do not leave the designated path." "Charming," Rick muttered under his breath. The council chamber was breathtaking and terrifying at the same time. It was a massive dome with seats arranged. in concentric circles, each one occupied by a different alien species. At the center was a platform where the humans were clearly expected to stand. Above them, holographic displays showed images of Earth from space that the beings in the chamber were unlike anything from human imagination. Some were huge, filling seats designed for creatures 3 times human size. Others were so small they seemed lost in their chairs. Some looked like they were made of living rock. Others appeared to be clouds of gas held together by force fields. At the highest position in the chamber sat a creature that made Lisa's blood run cold. It was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through its body in patterns that hurt to look at directly. When it spoke, its voice filled the entire chamber. "I am Speaker Zephyr 9 of the Galactic Council," it said. "We have been watching your species for some time. You have finally developed the ability to travel between stars, which triggers our protocols for first contact." Lisa stepped forward, hiding every instinct that told her to run. "I am Ambassador Lisa Carter, representing the United Earth Government. We come in peace, seeking friendship and cooperation with the galactic community." A sound filled the chamber that might have been laughter, though it came from dozens of different throats and sounded nothing like human laughter. Speaker Zephyr 9's crystal body pulsed with brighter light. "Peace," it said, and the words sounded like an insult. "Yes, humans speak much of peace. Your history suggests otherwise. 12,000 years of recorded warfare. Weapons that can destroy entire cities. You have nearly made your own world uninhabitable through violence and greed." Lisa felt her face flush with anger, but she kept her voice steady. "Every species has a difficult past. We've learned from our mistakes. We're here to prove that humanity can be a positive force in the galaxy." "Indeed," Zephyr 9 said. "That is why we have prepared the containment protocol specifically for your species." The words hit Lisa like a physical blow. Around the chamber, holographic displays came to life, showing Earth cities, military bases, and space installations. Red markers appeared over targets around the world. "The containment protocol is standard procedure for aggressive primitive species," Zephyr 9 continued. "You will surrender all military assets to Council control. Your population will be reduced to 2 billion individuals within 50 years. Monitoring stations will be established throughout your solar system, too. Ensure compliance." Rick stepped forward, his hand moving instinctively toward his sidearm. "You're talking about invading our world, controlling our people." "We are talking about survival," Zephyr 9 replied. "Your species has a choice. Accept the containment protocol and live under Council guidance, or be subjected to pacification bombardment that will reduce your technological level to what you call the Stone Age." Amy grabbed Lisa's arm, her scanner beeping frantically. "Ambassador, I'm reading massive energy buildups from the ships around the station. They're not just threatening us. They're ready to do it." Lisa looked around the chamber, seeing the faces of dozens of alien species. Some looked sympathetic, others seemed bored, as if they had seen this scene many times before. A terrible thought began to form in her mind. "How many species have you given this same choice?" she asked. For the first time, Zephyr 9 seemed pleased. "All of them, Ambassador Carter. Every species that achieved interstellar travel has stood where you stand now. Some chose wisdom and accepted our guidance. Others chose pride and were pacified. The choice is always the same." "And how many chose to fight?" Lisa asked, though she already knew the answer. "None that survived to tell about it," Zephyr 9 said. "You have 72 hours to consult with your government and provide an answer. Use that time wisely." The chamber fell silent except for the hum of alien technology. Lisa felt the weight of her entire species' future pressing down on her shoulders. Around her, the council members watched with the patience of creatures who had played this game for thousands of years. "We'll need to communicate with Earth," Lisa said finally. "Of course," Zephyr-9 replied. "You will find that your ship's communications are currently experiencing technical difficulties. This is for your own protection, to prevent panic among your population while you make this important decision." Lisa's blood turned to ice. They were cut off alone, with no way to warn Earth about what was coming. The Council wasn't just delivering an ultimatum. They were making sure humanity couldn't prepare for war. As the humans were escorted from the chamber, Lisa caught the eye of one of the alien delegates, a creature that looked almost human except for its pale blue skin. For just a moment, she saw something in its expression that looked like pity. Outside the chamber, Rick grabbed her arm. "They've done this before, haven't they? This whole thing is a setup." "I'm afraid so," Lisa said quietly. "And I think we're about to find out what happens to species that don't cooperate." Back aboard the UES Defender, the mood was dark. Captain Jake Morrison gathered his senior staff in the briefing room, while Ambassador Lisa Carter and her team shared what they had learned in the council chambers. "So let me get this straight," Jake said, running his hands through his hair. "They want us to surrender our entire military, kill off 3 billion people, and let them put monitoring stations in our solar system. And if we say no, they'll bomb us back to the Stone Age." "That's about the size of it," Lisa replied. Her diplomatic training was keeping her calm, but Jake could see the anger burning in her eyes. "They call it the containment protocol. Apparently, it's standard procedure." Colonel Rick Taylor was pacing back and forth like a caged animal. "Standard procedure? They've done this before. How many times, do you think?" Dr. Amy Wells looked up from her scanner, her face pale. "I've been analyzing the data I collected in the council chamber. Captain, there were representatives from 12 different species in there. But the energy signatures I'm reading suggest that at least half of them are wearing some kind of dampening collars." "Dampening collars?" Jake asked. "Devices that suppress natural abilities," Amy explained. "It's like they're being controlled, or at least monitored very closely." Lieutenant Commander Kate Phillips had been quiet until now, studying the tactical data on her tablet. "Captain, I've been analyzing the ship positions around the station. They're not arranged for defense. They're arranged for attack." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean?" Kate brought up a holographic display showing the space around the station. Dozens of alien ships were positioned in a perfect sphere around the human vessel. "Look at the formation. They've got us surrounded, but more than that. These positions would be perfect for a coordinated bombardment of a planetary surface." "They're not just threatening Earth," Rick said grimly. "They're already in position to do it." Communications Officer Dan Brooks had been working at his station, trying to break through the jamming that was blocking their signals to Earth. "Captain, I can't get through to Earth, but I'm picking up some interesting background chatter. The aliens aren't being very careful about their communication security." "What kind of chatter?" Jake asked. Dan's face was grim. "References to something called the Final Protocol, and mentions of previous operations. Operation Cleansing Wind, Operation Peaceful Sleep, Operation Merciful End. Those don't sound like peaceful first contacts," Lisa said. Amy was working frantically at her science station, cross-referencing data. "Captain, remember how they said every species that achieved interstellar travel has stood where we stood? I've been thinking about that. How many species in the galaxy should have developed space travel by now?" Jake shrugged. "I don't know. Thousands? Millions?" "Exactly. But there are only 12 species represented on the council, and half of them are wearing control collars. Where is everybody else?" The silence in the room was deafening. The implications of Amy's question hung in the air like a death sentence. "They're dead," Rick said quietly. "All of them. The council doesn't just contain aggressive species. they eliminate them. Kate was studying her tactical display with growing alarm. Captain, there's something else. I've been analyzing the ship designs. Around us, some of them match historical records from Earth's databases. What do you mean? Jake asked. I mean, we've seen these ship designs before, in our own archaeological records. The Vimana aircraft described in ancient Sanskrit texts. The flying discs seen by pilots in World War II. The UFO sightings over the past century. Jake felt the blood drain from his face. You're saying they've been watching us that long? Not watching, Kate said, studying, learning our capabilities, our weaknesses, our technology. They've been preparing for this moment for decades. Dan suddenly looked up from his communications console, his face excited. Captain, I think I've found something. There's a quantum communication frequency that they're not jamming. It's probably because they don't know we can access it. Can you reach Earth? Jake asked. Maybe, but I'll only get one shot at this. If they detect the transmission, they'll block it immediately. Lisa stood up, her mind racing. We need to send everything we've learned, not just about the ultimatum, but about the Council's true nature. If they're planning to attack Earth, our people need to know what they're really facing. What message do we send? Jake asked. Lisa thought for a moment. We tell them the truth, that we're facing a galactic empire that's been eliminating species for thousands of years, that peaceful negotiation isn't possible, and that Earth needs to prepare for war. That's assuming Earth can fight back, Rick said. You saw their technology. Their ships make ours look like toys. Amy looked up from her scanner. Maybe not. I've been analyzing the energy signatures from their ships. They're incredibly advanced, but they're also incredibly old. Some of these vessels are reading as being thousands of years old. So? Jake asked. So they've been using the same technology for millennia. They haven't needed to innovate because they've never faced serious resistance. Their weapons and shields are powerful, but they're based on very old designs. Kate was nodding slowly. And if they've been watching us for decades, their intelligence on our military capabilities is probably outdated. They know about our public space program, but they might not know about our classified military projects. What classified military projects? Rick asked. Jake and Kate exchanged a look. As captain of Earth's most advanced ship, Jake had been briefed on projects that even senior military officers didn't know about. There are things Earth has been working on, Jake said carefully. Things that were developed in case first contact didn't go well. You mean Earth has been preparing for this? Lisa asked. Some people have been preparing for this, Jake corrected. Not everyone believed that first contact would be peaceful. There have been contingency plans. Dan was working frantically at his console. Captain, I've got a narrow window. The quantum frequency is clear, but I can only maintain it for about 30 seconds. Do it, Jake ordered. Dan's fingers flew over his controls. The bridge fell silent, except for the hum of the communication systems. After what felt like an eternity, Dan looked up. Message sent, Captain. I transmitted everything we've learned about the Council, their true nature, and the threat to Earth. I also included all of our tactical data about their ship positions and capabilities. Did it get through? Lisa asked. Dan nodded. The quantum. Erst made it past their jamming, but they definitely detected it. I'm reading increased activity from their ships. They know we sent something. Jake felt a mixture of relief and dread. Earth would know what was coming, but now the Council would know that humanity was aware of their true intentions. The pretense of peaceful negotiation was over. Captain, Kate said urgently, I'm reading weapon signatures from the ships around us. They're powering up their attack systems. Are they targeting us? Jake asked. No, sir. They're targeting the space around. U.S. They're preparing to block any escape route. Amy was scanning frantically. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the station. They're not just preparing to attack us. They're preparing to attack something much bigger. Jake felt his blood turn to ice. They're preparing to attack Earth. The 72-hour deadline was never real, Lisa said, her voice filled with anger. They were always planning to attack. The negotiation was just a show. Rick was checking his sidearm, his face grim. So what do? We can't fight our way out of here. We can't escape. We can't even send another message to Earth. Jake looked around at his crew. They were trapped, surrounded by overwhelming force, with no way to help their homeworld. But there was something in their eyes that made him proud. They weren't giving up. They were ready to fight, even if it meant dying in the attempt. We do what humans do best, Jake said. We make them pay for underestimating us. Kate was studying her tactical display. Captain, there might be a way. Their ships are positioned to prevent us from escaping, but they're not positioned to stop us from attacking the station itself. Attack the station? Lisa asked. That's suicide. Maybe, Kate said. But if we can damage their communication systems, it might delay their attack on Earth. Give our people more time to prepare. Dan looked up from his console. Captain, I'm picking up increased chatter from the alien ships. They're talking about something called the Architect Protocol. It sounds like they're waiting for orders from someone higher up the chain. The architects? Amy asked. Who are they? I don't know, Dan said. But from the way these aliens are talking about them, they're the ones really in charge. The council members might just be puppets. Jake felt pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. The real enemy isn't the council. It's whoever is controlling them. And if we can expose that, maybe we can turn the other species against their masters. That's a big if, Rick said. It's the only chance we've got, Jake replied. And it's the only chance Earth has got. Outside the Defender, the alien ships moved into attack formation. Time was running out, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. But inside the human ship, a small crew was preparing to do something that no species had done in thousands of years. They were preparing to fight back. The next morning, Ambassador Lisa Carter walked back into the council chambers with a plan that could either save humanity or doom them all. She had spent the night working with Captain Jake Morrison and his crew to develop a strategy that was part diplomacy, part deception, and part desperate gamble. Speaker Zephyr Nine's crystal body pulsed with impatient light as the human delegation took their place on the central platform. Around them, the 12 species that made up the council watched with the bored expressions of creatures who had seen this scene play out many times before. Ambassador Carter, Zephyr 9 said, its voice echoing through the chamber. Have you reached a decision regarding the containment protocol? Lisa stepped forward, her hands steady despite the fear racing through her veins. We have given your proposal careful consideration. The United Earth government is willing to accept the containment protocol, but we would like to request some modifications to the terms. A ripple of surprise went through the council chambers. Several of the alien representatives sat up straighter, clearly not expecting humanity to negotiate, rather than simply accept or reject the ultimatum. Modifications? Zephyr 9 asked, its crystal form flickering with different colors. The containment protocol is not subject to negotiation. It is a standard framework that has been applied to all species. I understand, Lisa said, keeping her voice calm and diplomatic. But every species is unique. Surely some adjustments can be made to account for human biology and social structure? Colonel Rick Taylor stood beside her, playing his role perfectly. His face showed reluctant acceptance, as if he was a military officer who had been overruled by the politicians. Dr. Amy Wells looked nervous and defeated, exactly as they had planned. What modifications are you requesting? Zephyr 9 asked. Lisa pulled out a data pad and began reading from it. First, we request that the population reduction timeline be extended to 75 years instead of 50. Our reproductive biology makes such rapid population decline dangerous for genetic diversity. Acceptable, Zephyr 9 said immediately. Second, we request that Earth's monitoring stations be staffed jointly by Council personnel and human volunteers. This will help ensure smooth cooperation and prevent misunderstandings. Acceptable. Third, we request that Earth be allowed to maintain a small defensive fleet for protection against asteroids and other natural hazards. These ships would be unarmed except for mining equipment. Zephyr 9 paused, its crystal body pulsing more rapidly. This requires discussion. The Council will deliberate on this point. Lisa nodded. Of course. We also have detailed proposals for the implementation timeline, resource allocation, and transition protocols. These are complex matters. That will require careful planning. What she didn't say was that every proposal was designed to buy time and gather information. While the Council debated the finer points of humanity's surrender, Chief Engineer Ben Adams was working on a much more important project. Deep in the Defender's engineering section, Ben was making modifications to the ship's communication array. The quantum frequency that Dan Brooks had used to contact Earth was still available, but it was being monitored now. Ben needed to create a new method of communication that would slip past the Council's sensors. How's it coming? Jake asked, checking on Ben's progress. Almost there, Captain, Ben replied, his hands working quickly on the delicate equipment. I'm creating a microburst transmission that will piggyback on the Council's own communication signals. It'll look like background static to their sensors. Can you reach Earth? Not directly, but I can reach the deep space monitoring stations in the outer solar system. If anyone's listening, they'll pick up the signal. Jake nodded grimly. The deep space stations were part of Earth's early warning system, designed to detect incoming threats. If Ben's message got through, it would trigger protocols that most people on Earth didn't even know existed. Back in the Council chambers, the debate over Earth's requests was getting heated. Lisa watched as the various species argued among themselves, and she began to notice something interesting. Not all of the Council members were equal partners in this discussion. The crystal being, Zephyr 9, was clearly in charge. But there were others who seemed to have significant influence. A massive creature that looked like living rock, something that appeared to be made of liquid metal, and a being of pure energy that flickered in and out of visibility. The other species seemed to defer to these four, and Lisa realized that this was the real power structure of the Council. The 12 species weren't equal partners. They were a hierarchy, with the most powerful at the top and the weakest at the bottom. More importantly, she noticed that several of the weaker species were showing signs of the control collars that Amy had detected. They participated in the debate, but their responses seemed artificial, as if they were being prompted. The Council has reached a decision, Zephyr 9 announced. Your request for a small defensive fleet is acceptable, provided that the ships are limited to 10 vessels and their weapon systems are removed. Thank you, Lisa said. We also have concerns about the monitoring stations. Our people are naturally curious about alien technology. We worry that unsupervised access to Council equipment might lead to accidents or misunderstandings. This was the crucial moment. Lisa was hoping to get the Council to reveal information about their technology and procedures. If she could learn how the monitoring stations worked, it might provide Earth with a way to defend against them. The monitoring stations will be fully automated, said the liquid metal creature. Human contact will be minimal and supervised. What about maintenance? Lisa asked. Our harsh solar radiation and atmospheric conditions might require regular upkeep. The stations are self-repairing, the energy being replied. They will adapt to local conditions automatically. Lisa felt a chill. Self-repairing, adaptive technology. That could monitor an entire planet. This was far more advanced than anything Earth had imagined. But it also meant that the stations would be vulnerable during their initial installation phase. Before they had time to adapt. In the engineering section of the Defender, Ben Adams had finished his modifications. "Captain, I'm ready to transmit." "Do it," Jake ordered. The message that Ben sent was brief but crucial. It contained everything they had learned about the Council's technology, their ship positions, and most importantly, the timeline for Earth's surrender. But it also contained something else, a detailed analysis of the Council's weaknesses. Scans had revealed that the Council's ships were old and hadn't been updated in centuries. Kate's tactical analysis had shown that their formations were designed for intimidation rather than actual combat. And Lisa's negotiations had revealed that the Council was overconfident and unprepared for serious resistance. "Message sent," Ben reported. "It's riding the quantum wake of their own communications. They shouldn't be able to detect it." Jake felt a moment of hope. If the message got through, Earth would know exactly what they were facing. But more importantly, Earth would know that the Council could be beaten. Back in the Council chambers, the negotiations continued. Lisa was running out of reasonable requests, as she could see that Zephyr 9 was growing impatient. The crystal being's body was pulsing faster, and its voice was becoming more mechanical. "Ambassador Carter," Zephyr 9 said, "these discussions have been productive, but we must reach a final agreement. The Council has other matters to attend to." "Of course," Lisa said. "We just need to clarify one final point. The timeline for implementation. When would the containment protocol go into effect?" "Immediately upon your acceptance," Zephyr 9 replied. "Council ships will begin moving to Earth within 6 hours of your agreement. The monitoring stations will be installed within 48 hours. Lisa felt her heart racing. 6 hours. That was how long Earth had to prepare for invasion. It wasn't enough time to evacuate the planet or build new defenses. But it might be enough time to implement the contingency plans that Jake had hinted at. "I believe we have an agreement," Lisa said, "but I will need to transmit the final terms to Earth for official ratification." "That will not be necessary," Zephyr 9 said. "You have full authority to speak for your species." "I'm afraid that's not how human government works," Lisa replied. "Any treaty of this magnitude must be ratified by our world government. It's a legal requirement." She was lying, but she was gambling that the Council's knowledge of human government was incomplete. She needed to buy as much time as possible. Zephyr 9's crystal body flickered with annoyance. "How long will this ratification process take?" 12 hours, Lisa said. "Maybe less, if the vote is unanimous." "Very well. You have 12 hours to obtain ratification. After that, the containment protocol will be implemented with or without your formal agreement." As the Council session ended, Lisa felt a mixture of relief and terror. They had bought Earth a few more hours, but they had also committed to a course of action that would either save humanity or lead to its destruction. Walking back to the Defender, Rick grabbed her arm. "Do you think the message got through?" He asked quietly. "I hope so," Lisa replied. "Because if it didn't, we just signed humanity's death warrant." Unknown to them, their message had indeed reached Earth, in deep space monitoring stations scattered throughout the Hing. The 12 hours passed like a nightmare. Aboard the UES Defender, Captain Jake Morrison and his crew waited in tense silence, knowing that somewhere out in space, Earth was either preparing for war or preparing to die. They had done everything they could to warn their homeworld, but now they could only wait and hope that Speaker Zephyr 9's voice echoed through the ship's communication system exactly 12 hours after their last meeting. "Ambassador Carter, Report to the council chambers. The ratification period has ended. Lisa Carter walked through the corridors of the alien station with her head held high, but her heart was pounding. Behind her, Rick Taylor and Amy Wells followed, their faces grim but determined. They all knew this could be their last walk. The council chambers were different this time. More aliens were present, and the energy in the room felt charged with anticipation. Lisa could see representatives from dozens of species she hadn't seen before, all watching as humanity's fate was decided. Ambassador Carter, Zephyr 9 said, its crystal body pulsing with impatient light. Has your government ratified the containment protocol? Lisa took a deep breath. Speaker Zephyr 9, the United Earth government has carefully considered your proposal. Our answer is no. The silence in the chamber was deafening. For a moment, even the alien technology seemed to stop humming. Then, slowly, a sound began to build. It might have been laughter, but it came from dozens of different throats and sounded nothing like human amusement. No? Zephyr 9 repeated, as if it had never heard the word before. You refuse the containment protocol? We refuse to be enslaved, Lisa said firmly. We refuse to accept that might makes right. And we refuse to bow to bullies, no matter how advanced their technology. The laughter grew louder, and Lisa could see that many of the alien representatives were genuinely amused. They had heard defiant words before, and they knew how the story always ended. Ambassador Carter, Zephyr 9 said, its voice now cold and mechanical, you have made a grave mistake. Your species will be pacified, and your world will be reduced to a pre-industrial state. This is not a negotiation. This is a fact. Then, you leave us no choice, Lisa replied. If you want to destroy us, you'll have to fight us. Zephyr 9's crystal body flared with bright light. Fight? You have one ship. We have 1,000. You have primitive weapons. We have technology that can shatter planets. This is not a fight. This is an execution. Is it? Lisa asked. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like 12 species ganging up on one. That doesn't seem very brave to me. The insult hit home. Several of the alien representatives rose from their seats, their forms radiating anger. But Zephyr 9 held up a crystalline hand, and they settled back down. Your bravado is meaningless, Zephyr 9 said. To demonstrate the futility of resistance, we will destroy one of your moon installations. When you see how easily we can eliminate your defenses, you will reconsider your position. Lisa felt her blood turn to ice. Earth's moon had several research stations and mining operations. Thousands of people lived and worked there. You're talking about murdering innocent civilians. We are talking about teaching a lesson, Zephyr 9 replied. The lesson will be brief, and the casualties will be minimal. Unless you prefer that we begin with your major cities instead. Do what you want, Lisa said, her voice steady despite the fear racing through her veins. Humanity will never surrender. Zephyr 9's form pulsed with what might have been satisfaction. Very well. Begin the demonstration. High above them, holographic displays came to life, showing views of Earth's moon. Lisa could see the peaceful research stations, the mining operations, the small communities of humans who had chosen to live on the lunar surface. In a few moments, they would all be dead. But as the Council fleet moved into position to fire on the moon base, something unexpected happened. The base's defensive systems came online, and they were nothing like what the Council had expected. Instead of the primitive missiles and energy weapons the Council had seen in their surveillance, the moon base revealed military technology that was decades ahead of anything in Earth's public records. Massive railgun batteries rose from hidden positions, and energy shields that glowed with unfamiliar power surrounded the installations. What is this? Zephyr 9 demanded, its crystal form flickering with confusion. The answer came in the form of weapons fire. The moon base's railguns opened up on the council ships, and the projectiles moved at nearly the speed of light. The first alien vessel took a direct hit and exploded in a ball of flame that could be seen from Earth. But that was just the beginning. All around the solar system, objects that the Council had dismissed as asteroids and mining stations suddenly revealed their true nature. Humanity's real military fleet decloaked, and it was massive. Admiral Carlos Mendez stood on the bridge of the UE's Vengeance, watching as his hidden armada revealed itself to the galaxy. For 20 years, Earth's military had been preparing for this moment, building ships in secret and disguising them as civilian installations. All ships, this is Admiral Mendez, he broadcast on an encrypted channel. Operation Hammer is now active. Show these aliens what humans do to bullies. The response was immediate and devastating. Dozens of human warships dropped their stealth fields and opened fire on the Council fleet. These weren't the primitive vessels the Council expected. These were ships built with technology that Earth had developed in secret, incorporating theories and designs that the public space program had never seen. Back in the Council chambers, panic was spreading among the alien representatives. The holographic displays showed their mighty fleet being torn apart by weapons that shouldn't exist. Ship after ship exploded or went dark as human railguns and plasma cannons found their targets. Impossible, Zephyr 9 said, its crystal form flickering rapidly. Our intelligence reports showed primitive chemical rockets and basic nuclear weapons. Where did these ships come from? Lisa smiled grimly. Did you really think we'd show you our best weapons while you were watching? We've been preparing for hostile first contact since the 1940s. Every UFO sighting, every mysterious aircraft, every unexplained technology breakthrough. We knew someone was out there, and we knew they might not be friendly. Amy Wells stepped forward, her scientific scanner beeping frantically. Speaker Zephyr 9, I've been analyzing your ship's power signatures. Your technology is thousands of years old. You've been using the same weapons and shields for so long that you've forgotten how to innovate. Silence. Zephyr 9 roared, but its voice carried a note of fear that hadn't been there before. On the tactical displays, the battle was turning into a rout. The Council's ships were powerful, but they were designed to intimidate primitive species, not fight an actual war. Human tactics, developed through centuries of fighting each other, proved devastatingly effective against enemies who had grown soft through millennia of easy victories. Captain Kate Phillips aboard the human destroyer UES Lightning coordinated a wolf pack attack on a Council battleship, using speed and maneuverability to stay ahead of the alien vessel's heavy weapons. Her ship's AI calculated firing solutions that took advantage of weak points the Council didn't even know they had. Target their shield generators, Kate ordered. Our intelligence package from the Defender shows they're using distributed power systems. Take out 3 generators and the whole grid collapses. The Lightning's plasma cannon spoke, and the alien battleship's shields flickered and died. Seconds later, railgun fire from 3 other human ships turned the massive vessel into scrap metal. In the Council chambers, more displays came online, showing the scope of humanity's hidden preparations. The Earth's moon wasn't just defended by weapons. It was a massive military base, honeycombed with tunnels and installations that had been built over decades. Mars had similar fortifications, and even Earth's asteroid belt was revealed to be a network of armed stations. You have been watching us, Lisa said to the stunned Council. But we have been watching you too. Every time one of your scout ships approached our system, we tracked it. Every time you abducted one of our people for study, we learned about your technology. Every time you thought you were gathering intelligence, you were actually giving us information. Dr. Amy Wells activated her own holographic display, showing decades of accumulated data. We know your ship's power signatures. We know your weapons' capabilities. We know your shield frequencies. And most importantly, we know your weaknesses. The display showed detailed schematics of Council ship designs, with glowing red marks indicating critical vulnerability points. It was clear that humanity had been studying their enemies for a very long time. Zephyr 9's crystal form was now pulsing erratically, cycling through colors that hurt to look at. This is impossible. No primitive species could have hidden this. Level of military development. Our surveillance was complete. Your surveillance was looking for the wrong things, Rick Taylor said with a cold smile. You were watching our public space program and our civilian technology. You never looked for the black projects, the classified research, the weapons programs that we kept hidden even from most of our own people. The battle outside was reaching its climax. Admiral Mendez's fleet had destroyed or disabled more than half of the Council ships, and the survivors were trying to retreat. But the revelation of the architects came sooner than anyone expected. As the last Council ships burned in the void around Earth, space itself began to twist and bend near the galactic core. Something vast and ancient was moving, and reality warped. Around it like water around a massive stone, Admiral Carlos Mendez watched from the bridge of the UES. Vengeance as his sensors detected the impossible. Ships were emerging from what looked like tears in space itself, vessels so large they dwarfed entire moons. The technology that created them was beyond anything the Council had possessed. Admiral, his communications officer reported, "We're receiving a transmission on all frequencies. It's coming from the galactic core." "Put it through," Mendez ordered. The voice that filled the bridge was ancient beyond measure, carrying the weight of millions of years. When it spoke, reality seemed to bend around the words. "Primitive creatures of the third planet," the voice said, "you have interfered with the natural order for the last time. We are the architects of galactic civilization. We have guided the development of species for longer than your star has existed. Your rebellion ends now." Back on the Council station, Ambassador Lisa Carter felt the temperature in the chamber drop as the same voice echoed through the alien structure. Around her, the surviving Council members were prostrating themselves, their forms trembling with fear. "The architects," Speaker Zephyr 9 whispered, its crystal body now dim and flickering. "They have awakened. You have doomed us all." But Lisa wasn't intimidated. If anything, the appearance of humanity's true enemy filled her with grim satisfaction. "Finally," she said, "the real cowards show themselves." On Earth, President Helen Rodriguez stood in the Global Defense Command Center, surrounded by screens, showing the massive alien ships approaching from deep space. Her military advisors were pale with fear, but her expression was calm and determined. "Madam President," General Patricia Stone said, "the architect ships are beyond anything we've ever encountered. Our weapons might not even damage them." "Then, we'll find weapons that will," Rodriguez replied. "Activate Protocol Omega. All of it." General Stone's eyes widened. Protocol Omega was humanity's ultimate contingency plan, developed in absolute secrecy over decades. It included weapons and technologies that pushed the very limits of physics, projects so dangerous that they had never been tested at full power. "Madam President, Protocol Omega could destroy our own solar system if it goes wrong. And if we don't use it, these architects will destroy our species anyway," Rodriguez said. "The choice is simple. We die fighting, or we die on our knees. I know which one I prefer." Across human space, hidden installations began to power up. On Earth's moon, massive particle accelerators that had been disguised as mining equipment came online. In the asteroid belt, fusion reactors that had been hidden inside hollowed-out rocks began generating power levels that would have been visible from other star systems. But the most dangerous weapons were the ones that couldn't be. Scene: deep in Earth's oceans. Quantum computers that had been working for decades on theoretical physics problems suddenly switched to weapons calculations. The results were technologies that existed at the very edge of possibility. The first architect, shipped to reach the solar system, was a fortress the size of a small planet. Its hull was made of materials that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, and its weapons could have carved continents in half. When it spoke, its voice carried the arrogance of a species that had never been challenged. Surrender now, and your species will be allowed to exist as servants. Resist, and you will be eliminated completely. Admiral Mendez's response was broadcast across the galaxy on every frequency that existed. This is Admiral Carlos Mendez of the Human Defense Fleet. We have a message for the architects and anyone else who thinks they can enslave humanity. Come and try. The architect ship opened fire, and its weapons tore through space with power that defied comprehension. Entire human ships were vaporized in seconds. But humanity had prepared for this level of destruction. All ships, implement Phantom Protocol, Mendez ordered. Across the human fleet, experimental cloaking technology activated. But this wasn't simple invisibility. These ships were phasing in and out of normal space, existing in quantum states that made them impossible to target. It was technology that human scientists had developed by studying the fundamental nature of reality itself. The architect ship's weapons passed harmlessly through targets that were no longer entirely real. Meanwhile, human ships began to return fire with weapons that shouldn't have been possible. Dr. Ben Adams, now serving as Chief Technology Officer for the entire human fleet, had spent years developing what he called reality bombs. These weren't nuclear weapons or antimatter devices. They were weapons that attacked the basic structure of space and time itself. When the first reality bomb detonated against the architect ship's hull, the effect was unlike anything ever seen in galactic warfare. The explosion didn't just destroy matter. It unraveled the very concept of matter in the target area, leaving behind regions of space where the laws of physics simply stopped working. The architect ship, for the first time in millions of years, was damaged, and more importantly, it was afraid. Impossible, the ancient voice said, no longer carrying the same confidence. No species should possess such weapons. How did you develop technology that we do not understand? Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding a squadron of human destroyers, answered over the open channel. We developed it because we had to. Because we knew that somewhere out there, bullies like you existed. And we decided that if we were going to die, we'd take you with us. The battle that followed raged across multiple star systems. The architects brought forth weapons that could ignite suns and devices that could fold space like paper. But humanity matched them with technology born from desperation and ingenuity. Human ships armed with quantum torpedoes attacked architect vessels that existed in 17 dimensions. Earth's moon-based gravity cannons fired black holes at enemy formations. In the asteroid belt, massive railguns accelerated projectiles to near-light speed, using technologies that bent the laws of physics. But the real turning point came when Dr. Amy Wells, working from her laboratory aboard the UES Defender, made a discovery that changed everything. The architects weren't just ancient. They were dying. Captain Morrison, she reported, I've been analyzing the energy signatures from their ships. The architects are machines. They uploaded their consciousness into artificial bodies millions of years ago, but the process is breaking down. They're not trying to control the galaxy because they're evil. They're trying to find a way to save themselves. The revelation changed everything. Lisa Carter, still aboard the council station, immediately understood the implications. That's why they've been harvesting younger species. They're not looking for slaves. They're looking for new bodies. The truth was even more horrifying then. Simple conquest. The architects had been using the Galactic Council to identify species with compatible biology, then gradually weakening them until they could be absorbed. The consciousness of entire species had been consumed to extend the architects' artificial existence. But humanity had developed something the architects had never encountered: weapons designed to destroy information itself. The reality bombs didn't just damage matter and energy. They could erase the very concept of consciousness from an artificial substrate. When Admiral Mendez realized what they were facing, his response was swift and merciless. All ships switched to consciousness-targeting weapons. We're not just fighting for our freedom. We're fighting to free every species these creatures have ever absorbed. The final battle took place near the galactic core, where the architects had built their true stronghold. It was a structure that existed partially outside normal space, containing the absorbed consciousness of thousands of species spanning millions of years. General Patricia Stone led the assault personally, commanding Earth's most advanced ships, in an attack on a fortress that had never been challenged. The weapons humanity brought to this fight were so advanced that they required teams of physicists just to operate them safely. Target the consciousness storage arrays, Stone ordered. If we can free the absorbed species, the architects lose their power source. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships that phased in and out of reality fought against weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. Space itself became a battleground where the fundamental forces of the universe were turned into weapons. But in the end, it was humanity's refusal to accept defeat that made the difference. When their ships were destroyed, human crews fought from escape pods. When their weapons failed, they rammed enemy vessels. When their technology was overcome, they improvised new solutions. The moment of victory came when Lisa Carter, working with the surviving members of the Galactic Council, managed to broadcast a virus into the architect's consciousness network. The virus wasn't designed to destroy information. It was designed to free it. Across the galactic core, the consciousness of thousands of absorbed species suddenly awakened. Species that had been consumed millions of years ago found themselves able to think independently again. And they were angry. The architect's fortress tore itself apart as the freed consciousness turned against